Hey, good morning, guys. I hope you guys are doing well. I am getting up and about to go do some work. And I wanted to address a comment that I saw. I think it was made by a white senator who is one of the white liberal allies. And the statement was interesting. So this senator, I don't know this guy's name, but I guess he's a Democrat. He said it's up to white people to end white supremacy. He said it's up to white people to end white supremacy. Now, I appreciate a statement from the allies or so-called allies, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm not really into regurgitating the thoughts of other people. As a scholar, you're not supposed to, for example, just read books. As a scholar, you're supposed to write books. As a scholar, you're not supposed to recite ideas. You're supposed to create new ideas and see things in whatever way it needs to be seen in order for you to achieve the goal. So I challenge a lot of the pre-existing definitions of what we see around us. So I thought about that term allies, and allies usually means basically white people who get it, who want to support the cause, and I think these people are fine. I'm not in any way attacking these people for trying to do right. But I remember that scene. Remember when Malcolm X, in the movie Malcolm X, when the white girl from Harvard runs up and says, Mr. X, I really support your cause. I think what you're doing is great. And I just love everything about what you're doing. And I would just like to know, as a white person, I'm really a good white person, what can I do to help your cause? Does anybody remember what Malcolm said? Malcolm said nothing. He said nothing. Now, do I agree with that statement? No, I challenge everybody, including Malcolm X. I don't agree with that statement. I don't think the answer is nothing. I think there are things people can do if they're truly well-intended, and I respect that. But here's where I want to kind of jump in. First of all, let's talk about the term allies. I've reshaped my definition of what an ally is. No disrespect to the white people watching, but I still don't trust white people as a collective. It doesn't mean I hate them. It just means that you don't have the track record to validate significant trust that we should have in your systems or your way of thinking. I'm a believer that power is intoxicating, and even a good person can get high on drugs or high on power. And when you're high, you're not always going to do the right thing, right? So I'm not... So I'm not really looking at allies as people who don't look like me. I tend to look internally. So in my definition of allies, the way I see an ally now is not so much just the white folks that are trying to do right. I see allies as the black people who are trying to do right by you. I see allies as people who have alignment. So think about the word ally. You can also tie it to the word alignment. Alignment means incentive alignment, meaning we're in the same boat. When I'm really trusting somebody to control my boat, I'm not going to trust somebody who ain't in the boat. I'm going to trust somebody who is in a situation where if the boat sinks, we're all going to die. You're going to be hit. I'm going to be hurt. We're all going to go down. So when I think about allies, I think about, first and foremost, people that are in the same boat. So my allies are, number one, it's my family. My brother's a great ally. My sister, my mother, my father, my children, my relatives. Second level of allies are black folks that are in my extended family. So when I think about allies, in the public space, I'm thinking about Tariq Nasheed. I'm thinking about Jay Morrison. I'm thinking about David Banner. I'm thinking about Killer Mike. I'm thinking about Vicky Dillard, right? Those are my allies. Lamar Tyler. Those are my allies, right? Those are my ride or dies. Those are the people who will go with me to the dangerous locations. Those are the ones who understand my pain. Those are the ones who've had my experience. Those are the ones who are gonna get it. Even if they don't agree with it, they're still gonna get it. They don't. None of these individuals speaks exactly the way I speak. And they probably think that some of the things I say are crazy, but even though they may not agree and they may think it's a little crazy, they always get it, right? So I think your allies, first and foremost, should be people who get you. right? People who understand you. The best way for people to understand is usually when they've had the same experience. For example, I know I have a lot of veterans that follow me, and I respect the veterans. I'm never going to disrespect a veteran. Most soldiers will tell you that the people who really understand what it's like to be a soldier are other soldiers, right? Like that buddy who was with you in Vietnam, where y'all both got surrounded and, got bunkered in and shot at for 3 days straight. Like, they're going to understand you in a way that other people just won't, right? So I think that when you're talking about your allies, you want to look for that alignment. And I believe, in the spirit of be one, black first, I think you should pick your allies as being black first. Doesn't mean you can't have white folks that are good people. Doesn't mean you can't work with them. Doesn't mean you can't do things with them. I'm not saying you shouldn't do any of that. I'm just saying redefine what it means for somebody to be an ally. The next thing I'll say about this, here's the last point I'll make about this guy's statement. So this senator, who probably sees himself as an ally, he makes a statement where he basically says, white supremacy will be ended. I think he said white supremacy can only be ended by white people. I could have sworn that's what he said. Okay, cool. I think it's good that he's getting his allies together to deal with their shit, right? The world will certainly be a better place if all of us work to be better people. So I'm not disagreeing with what he said, but here's what I'm going to say. Here's where I'm going to stop to put the brakes on the bus. I don't believe white supremacy in my life or in the black community is going to end when white people decide it's going to end. I believe white supremacy ends when you decide it's going to end. Some of you have heard me talk about white supremacy before and helping you to reshape or consider a reshaping of your definition of white supremacy. What does that mean? White supremacy basically is the fundamental idea that white people are superior to black people, right? That's supremacy, superior, right? You believe that you're superior to me. Okay. First of all, I'm going to say this. A lot of your white supremacists aren't just white people. A lot of your white supremacists are black people. Why do I say this? Well, because black people have a confidence issue. Black people have a significant issue with self-love. Black people will support a white business before we support a black business because we believe white people are better at business than black people or more trustworthy. White people will support white people will send their children to, black people will send their children to white people to educate their children because they believe white people are superior at education than black people. When I talk about black people educating our own children, people hem and haw like, oh, that's not possible. How are we going to do that? We can't do that. That's a supremacy issue. You're a white supremacist because you believe that they're better at taking care of your children and teaching your children than you are. And I don't agree with that. I think the best person to teach a black child is a black person, right? So white supremacy isn't just something that infects white people. White supremacy tends to work when both parties agree. It's like when I'm dancing with my wife, if we're doing the tango, her moves have to be in sync with mine. If her moves are out of sync with mine, then it's not going to be a very good dance. If she's not, if when I take a step forward, if she don't take a step back, then we're not going to do a very good tango, right? So black people have been in this socio-political, socio-economic tango with white people for a very long time because you are a couple that is in love. You are deeply in love. Your love affair has lasted 400 years. It's an abusive relationship, but you don't leave because you don't know where you're going to go. Your self-esteem is low. He's told you that if I don't want you, bitch, then nobody will want you. So you buy into that. You believe all these things about yourself. So therefore you buy into this white supremacy thing. So you got to check yourself on that. Second thing I will say to you is this. If you're talking about this fundamental idea that a white man believes he's superior to me, the problem with me sort of fighting that idea is the fact that I can't control what another man believes, right? Compare it to sports. When the Golden State Warriors step on the basketball court to play the Chicago Bulls may believe that they're superior to the Golden State Warriors. Like, we're going to kick their ass. We're superior to them, right? And the Golden State Warriors believe they're superior to the Chicago Bulls. Neither team can control what the other team is thinking. All you can do is believe what you believe and step on the court and play the game out and see who wins, right? So when you talk about white supremacy as an idea, you can look at it in two separate ways, as a system and as an idea. And I'm going to talk about the systematic aspect in a second. As an idea, if you look at white supremacy as this idea that white people think that they're superior to me, I don't give a fuck. I do not care if a white man thinks he's superior to me, because I know that that's not true. I don't care if he thinks he's smarter than me, because I know I'm smarter than 99.9% of the white people I've ever met. I don't care if he thinks he's better than me. Well, I think I'm better than you. So maybe you should be accusing me of being a black supremacist. I have no idea. Because I believe black people are the greatest people in the history of the world. I believe we can do anything. I believe we're unstoppable. So you can believe what you believe about your people. I'm going to believe what I believe about my people. And then we'll get on the court and we'll just play it out, right? We'll just fight it out, right? So this idea of white supremacy as being this thing that inhibits you, I really want you to process that for a moment and really ask yourself, why does it bother you so much when a white man thinks he's better than you? Why does it bother you if you walk into a store and the white lady, looks at you funny because you're black? Why does that bother you so much? The reason it bothers you, I'm going to answer your question for you. The reason it bothers you is because you really care what they think. You really feel that their opinion matters. You judge your own opinion about yourself on what their opinion of you happens to be. Look at how many black people run around with labels and awards and certifications and validations that they've received from white people that make them feel better. Go watch MSNBC and listen to the accolades of the Negroes on MSNBC. Oh, here's so-and-so. He's a full professor at Princeton University, a big racist white university that decided that he was a smart Negro, right? And the reason you have to be careful about that is because many of your strongest, most capable black people will never be rewarded by these institutions. Dr. Claude Anderson is one of the greatest, most intelligent, most brilliant most brilliant human beings on the planet, and he'll never get a job at Princeton. So why would you put a person who's been validated by whites ahead of a man who has an infinite love for black people? An infinite love for black people. Why do you? Again, it's self-esteem. The reason you do that is for the same reason that a woman will treat a shitty thug better, who shits on her better than she treats the man down the hall who buys her flowers every day. She's got a self-esteem issue. And I had a friend like that. I had a friend. She couldn't understand why she would always fall in love with these guys. You know this. You tell me if you know women like this and men like this. There are men like this too. So it's not just gender. It's not just women. But I remember she would have like a couple of guys that really loved her and would do anything for her. And she would have the guys that treated her like shit. And she always chased the guys who treated her like shit. It was really weird. And she'd be crying over these guys, falling over for these guys or whatever. And one time her mother was like, wait a minute, so you're telling me you have this one man who loves you to death, who treats you really well, and you're not giving him the time of day, and this other man who's pissing all over you, and you're in love with the guy who's treating you badly? You have a self-esteem problem. You need therapy. You need therapy because what was going on, in my humble opinion, my armchair psychologist mode, I'm not a real psychologist. I live with one, so she always reminds me I'm not a real therapist, right? But in my armchair therapist sort of way, what I see in that person is that this was a person who had a self-esteem issue to the point where I believe in her mind, when she met a man who really loved her and really wanted to be with her and really wanted to treat her well, she would look at him and say, wait a minute, I'm not shit. I'm ugly. Why would you treat me this well? If you're dumb enough to think that a person as unattractive as me is actually attractive, then I don't want you, because that must mean that you're not worth having anyway, right? So the mere fact that a man was in love with her would make her devalue the man. So black people, because we have the self-esteem challenge, we do the same thing. When somebody says they're black first, or they put black in the title of their business, or they say, I love black people, look at how many Negroes love to run away from people like that. Look at how many Negroes will say, oh, I'm not messing with that. That's too radical. That's too black. Me and Lamar Tyler had a conversation about that, about how just putting the word black in the names of our businesses caused so many black people to be nervous about doing business with us. Like, whoa, wait, you talking about you black? Well, that must mean you must not be good. You must not be quality, right? That's what people do. Even as a PhD, I was the smartest person in my class. I was the #1 graduating finance student at the University of Kentucky when I came out of college. But you'd be amazed how many black people now, not just white people, this ain't shit you can just put on white folks, How many black people literally think I'm not as qualified as the white professors that they learn from at some shitty school like Iowa State University, and because I'm black, like literally, or because I'm black and because I'm radical and because I tell the truth and because I'm not afraid to be black, they somehow see that as, okay, he must not be legitimate, right? So at the end of the day, white supremacy affects everybody. It affects everyone like the coronavirus. And so many of us as a community, if we just got rid of that, like if we just literally were able to have a vaccine or some sort of cure for our own white supremacy, our own fundamentally flawed belief that white people are better, that white schools are better, that white businesses are superior and we should give them our money, we would see our community advance tremendously. Because at the end of the day, what somebody else thinks about you only matters to the extent that you give it power. Like literally, I don't really care what's inside your brain if you think you're superior to me, because that doesn't matter as much as what's inside my brain. The last piece I'll throw in here is this. There's a systematic element to white supremacy that cannot be denied, right? We know that if you look at the economic system, the educational system, the criminal justice system, to name three systems in particular, also you throw in maybe the healthcare system, you've got a supremacy issue there, right? White people treat white people better than black people. All the data shows this. You go and you work for a white corporation, they're going to give the white guy the promotion over you. You go and you send your child to school. Your black son has a statistically higher likelihood of being placed in special ed than the white kids, right? They're going to be disciplined more. It's a shit show. We know this. It's always true. Now, here's what's fascinating to me, or what I believe to be true. As much as white people are being so wonderfully polite this week because of the George Floyd situation, and as relevant and meaningful as this activism is and how transformative it is, I believe in 100 years, white people will still treat white people better than they treat black people. White people in their own home, in their own businesses, are going to give promotions to other white people before they give promotions to other black people. Why do I know this? Well, because I know that in my business, if you're black, you're going to be seen a little differently than if you're white. Doesn't mean we hate the white people who want to work with us, but the black people are the ones who are in our social circle. The black people are the ones who understand us. The black people are the ones who fit in better. So at the end of the day, people tend to take care of their own. So these systems are not going to change. So here's what I think needs to happen, right? It is totally fine. I have so much appreciation and want to give so many thanks to all the black people that have not given up on white people. I appreciate you very much because you're better than me. The black people who are sitting in there in the big white corporation fighting to get them to hire another black manager, God bless you. I wish you the best. I hope that works out for you. The black people who are sitting there at these racist white universities that will only admit a black student if he can dribble a basketball, and won't hire black professors to save their life. I really hope that you achieve that goal, because it's great when these systems are actually better and a better fit for us. Here's where I align in my thinking. You can't be everything to everybody. So I just want to be somebody to somebody, right? I'm not trying to be everything to everybody. I just want to be something to somebody. So when I choose to be something to somebody, I align better with the black folks who understand the power of black people to not have to feel like you have no choice when it comes to dealing with these systems. I align with the black people who know that in our quest for freedom, we have the right to walk away. One of the greatest elements of freedom comes down to the basic idea of being able to walk away from a system if you don't want to be a part of that, right? So when you think about the day-to-day life of a black person, sure, we need to deal with the criminal justice system. We got to deal with the cops. There are solutions for that, right? Community policing. A lot of these problems could be solved with one basic idea. If you're a cop in a neighborhood, you should live in that neighborhood. If you don't live in that community or within a 5-mile radius of the place that you're policing, then you can't police there, right? Like that right there would solve 99% of these situations that you're seeing when you got white cops from the suburbs coming in and killing black people. Like that's because they are an occupying force at that point. And the question becomes, why do they feel that it's okay to come into a black neighborhood and kill everybody, and we're not going to white neighborhoods and beating people up, right? But you don't see a bunch of black cops in white neighborhoods, right? So that can be solved. But here's the deal. Here's the reality. Most black people don't deal with police on a daily basis. Like, how many of you see a cop every day? Like, how many of you talk to a cop every day, right? Seriously. Most of you might get pulled over maybe once every year or two. right? Maybe every now and then something happens where you have to deal with a cop. But I know in my life, I don't see cops that much. And to be honest with you, the cops in our neighborhood, they see me and Alicia run by. We wave, they wave back. Everything's cool. Everything's copacetic, right? So cops are not kind of a part of your day-to-day life as black people. The day-to-day life of a black person pretty much looks like this in many cases. In many cases, it looks like this. You get up in the morning, it's you and your kids. You're sending your kids to school. You're making sure your kids are fed. That's on you. You own that. No white supremacist can control what you feed your children, how you educate your children, none of that, right? How you raise your kids. Then you go to work. Usually, you're going to work for somebody who does not look like you, right? Like that's the reality, right? And so you're going to work and you're pissed off all day because you're like, oh, these white people, look at what these white people are doing to me on my job, right? So, for people like that, I tell them that the easy solution is entrepreneurship in the black community. If you create more businesses in your community, then you can create more jobs in your community. You can have more companies that are run by people who do look like you, right? So if you look at most studies, black people have a significant underrepresentation when it comes to people that choose to be entrepreneurs. Every time I've ever started a business, I have never once in my life run into a white man who told me I couldn't do it. Right? And never. Now you run into issues with with getting access to capital and all that. Again, that's a systematic challenge, but you can work around that, right? But at the end of the day, that part of the system that affects you the most, the economic system, you can walk away from that system. You need to understand that there's not a law saying that you have to be in a white man's system if you're not comfortable there. Chinese people don't live in a white man's system. They live in a Chinese system. Right? African people don't live in a Chinese system per se. Some of them do, but a lot of Africans live in an African system, right? So why can't African Americans have a system, given that we probably have more wealth in our community? I'm not sure. Scratch that. I think the total income of black people is about 1.3 trillion. The total GDP of all of Africa is about 3 trillion. So we literally, with our little tiny 40 million people, have half the wealth of all of Africa, right? So we got something to work with. We have something to start off with. Plus, you got your white allies who might write checks to your stuff or whatever that you're doing, and that's fine. I think that's totally cool. So then what happens? So you go to work all day, you're pissed off, you're mad. Maybe these white folks drive you crazy. They got you in therapy. They got you drinking, maybe using drugs. I don't know. People do all kinds of stuff to try to cope with white supremacy and microaggressions, which statistically is proven that it does kill you. It does disrupt your physical health. And then you come home again to your family. And then what's your next exposure to white supremacist systems? Well, if you turn on the TV, then white supremacy is usually waiting for you. Why? Well, because all these media outlets and all these entertainment companies are run by racist white people. So there's another problem which has an easy solution. What's the easy solution? Create black-owned media outlets, support black-owned media outlets, create black-owned entertainment companies, support black-owned entertainment companies. So if you want to know what sort of lies at the core of my thinking, why do you think we created Boyce Watkins Films? Well, because we said we want to make black movies and we want to support black filmmakers. Why do you think we have Your Black World News? Well, because we believe black people should get their news from other black people, because that allows us to talk about things from a black perspective. Why do you think we created the Black Business School? Well, because when it comes to the educational system, black people need an alternative to that, right? So because when you're at work being mistreated by white people on your job, then your children are at school being mistreated by white people at school. So those four things, if you're talking about media, entertainment, education, and economics, all those four systems have easy alternatives. I know lots of black people who got tired of the racism, so they created a business. So they created an alternative economic system that allows them to work with people that they like. I know plenty of black people who took their children out of the educational system and they're educating their children at home, and their children never felt more loved and better educated in their life. They're learning black history. They're learning how to start businesses. They're learning all these great things. I know plenty of black people who don't participate with CNN and Fox News and MSNBC. They go to black outlets to get their news on a daily basis. I know plenty of black people who support black films, and they might watch a little Netflix, but they also might go watch Kweli TV, which is a whole network. That's the black Netflix. Kweli, Kweli, Kweli. Kweli TV is the black Netflix. So my point is to say, at the end of the day, when you talk about white supremacy, you got two angles to look at it from. One is ideology. Does the white man think he's superior to you, and do you agree with him? That's a two-edged sword. And then you have systems, which means that you can either get in the system and fight through that system, or you can walk away from the system. Freedom, ultimately, and power linked to the basic idea of doing what you want to do and always having the power to walk away from the table if you choose to do that. You can walk away from that system if that system is not for you. And that, to me, in my opinion, is as close to fulfilling the ancestors' wishes for you as I can possibly think. I don't think your ancestors' dream was for black people to all get jobs working for white people. I don't believe that. I don't believe the ancestors' dream was for all of you to get, for your children to go to Princeton so they or some white university so that they can end up dying in debt. I don't believe that the ancestors' dream was for black Hollywood to get a couple of parts in movies that are controlled by white studios. I believe the ancestors' dream was for you to have the ultimate freedom to create the world that you want to live in, a world where you get up every day and you're educating your children, you're feeding them well. And then on top of that, your children are not just being educated by you or being sent to a school run by black people and receiving the love and support and attention and black history and everything else they deserve, but also you're maybe either working for or you own a black owned business where you get a chance to spend your whole workday surrounded by people who love you, at least people who get you, people who understand you, people who are in the same boat as you. You're true allies, right? And then you come home and you turn on the TV and you watch a black owned movie together with you and the black man or black woman that you love and the black children that are surrounded with you. And then when you want some news, you turn on a black news network. Maybe you go watch Vicky Dillard or something, or you go listen to what Tariq has to say, or Black Dot or somebody like that, right? So I think that if you think about that encompasses the majority of black life. Now you've got two other systems that are not mentioned here. One is, again, the criminal justice system, dealing with cops and all that. And we know that that's real. And I mentioned some solutions to that. And then you've also got the healthcare system, right? Which is a whole nother conversation, which has its issues on its own. But most of you don't spend time talking to cops every day, and you don't spend time every day in the hospital. But you do spend time every day in the economic system, the educational system, and you spend most days consuming media that is on your TV. So I encourage you just to think outside the box when it comes to this white supremacy thing. Know that there are multiple solutions to this. And I think what's really important is if you want to, like I think Kende, there's a brother named Kende something that wrote a book called How to Be an Anti-Racist. And somebody told me about the book because they told me I was in it somewhere on some page, and we bought it to support, and I was in there. But here's the thing. That book was written for white people, right? So he could go speak at white universities to teach them how to not be such bad people. And I think that's great. I love that. There's a lot of money in that. I think that that's what he should be doing. Because again, my hat goes off to those black people who have the patience to go deal with that nonsense, who can cater to the ignorance of people who've been trained to believe they're better than you. But also, I think there should be a companion book for black people on how to not be a white supremacist, which comes down to loving yourself and having dignity in what you have, loving your people first, building within your own community, and believing that you have the power to do that. That's the biggest problem that you have, in my opinion, is you have a lack of confidence in your ability to actually do the things that I've talked about in this example. So have confidence, believe in yourself, practice that. Like when you say you love black people, when you say that black is beautiful, well, what does that really mean to you? I mean, do you really believe that shit, or are you just waiting for a white person to confirm it for you? Like seriously, so many black people on TV, notice how many black folks on TV literally get their talking points directly from white people. The Democratic Party is now talking about immigration, so we all gonna talk about immigration. The Democratic Party is now talking about the environment. We gonna talk about the environment. The Democratic Party gives us permission to talk about police killings, well, we all gonna talk about police killings. You sound like the Wizard of like the Wiz when the Wiz was like, the color is red, and they like, oh, I wouldn't be called dead without red, and then he's like, the color is green, so suddenly everybody's wearing green. Well, I think that you need to let go of the Wizard of Oz. I think that these people have become your Wizard of Oz. I think these people have become your gods. I think these people have become your leaders. I think they've become your masters. I believe that they're giving you cues. They're giving you Simon Says cues in terms of what is valid and what is not. And I just think that we should get our cues from something else. We should get our cues from ourselves. We should redefine what it means to be an ally. And I know that I have. So again, when you ask me who my allies are, I'm be like, I don't know. I ain't got no white allies, but I know that if I pick up the phone and call Jay Morrison, that's a ride or die, and And by the way, speaking of Jay Morrison, we talked yesterday, and all the Negroes that were attacking the Tulsa Fund and claiming it wasn't legitimate and all that, they succeeded in getting the SEC on his ass. So the Securities and Exchange Commission did a deep year-long investigation into the Tulsa Fund, and after 1 year of deep investigation, 50,000 emails going back and forth, they found no wrongdoing whatsoever on his part. So all the Negroes that were running around saying bad things about the Tulsa Fund, all the little fake armchair analysts who were saying, oh, it's not legit, it must, again, the white supremacists who believe that because this fund was run by a black man that it must be inferior, I need them to be as loud about the fact that he was cleared as they were when they were falsely claiming that the fund was fraudulent. So I want to throw that piece in there real quick because you can't have a scenario where you're allowing black people to attack and scrutinize other black people more than they would ever scrutinize white people. And I think that's one of your biggest challenges you have as a community, and I'm just done with that. So if you want to know, am I an investor in the Tulsa Fund? Yes, I am. And I just want to give that shout out and say that Jay came out clean on all of that. And again, I don't know every single thing everybody's doing. So this does not mean that I know everything about the Tulsa Fund inside out, but I do know that one thing, that the SEC said that they were clear. Okay, so just go tell people that. Okay, so anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. Also, if you want to put your kids in our Black Business School for Children, you can actually go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. You can join for the first month for $1. So the first month is $1, so you can try it out. So feel free to go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. And if you haven't learned to buy your first share of stock, you can learn for free by going to firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. So hit the thumbs up button. I'll see you soon. Take care. Have a good day. Be good. Peace.